In 2022, after receiving some diagnoses relating to my cardiovascular system, I decided I had to go into action to learn about diet and nutrition. I had some ideas because I've been interested in health for a long time, probably since I was in my 20s, and it especially became a strong interest of mine after first my uncle, and then had a major heart attack and died, and then my dad had to have multiple bypasses. I decided, I needed to understand what I should do in order to protect myself from following in their footsteps, and also their father. Now, in 2022, I was also worried about my weight. So I had a lot going on. After I moved here from Indonesia, I had gained, I think 25 pounds. So I was over 200. And that, combined with the family history and the symptoms that I was experiencing and what I was diagnosed with, made me concerned. And then when I saw my cardiologist after the tests were done, he could only say to me, do the Mediterranean diet or the DASH diet, and that was all. I said, well, can you give me any specific nutrition advice? And he said, I don't know anything about nutrition, which was shocking to me, because at that time, I didn't know that in most countries in the world, doctors are given very little education in diet and nutrition. It is given to the dietitians and nutritionists to handle that responsibility. Most people, unless they're in the hospital, never meet with a dietitian or nutritionist. And I'm not sure why that is. And in fact, I wanted to see a dietitian, and my insurance company said, well, you can only see him in a hospital. How am I going to see a dietitian in a hospital if I'm not in the hospital? I wasn't sure what to do. So I started researching. I'm not stupid. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm not stupid either. And I do enjoy science. I do enjoy learning. So I started researching, and I thought I knew some of the answers already. And then as I delved into the world of diet and nutrition, I became very confused, because I was seeing information that contradicted what I thought I understood. And I was like stressed and confused, because I wanted to heal myself. And you're thinking, well, how can you do that? Well, in the past, when I've had ailments, sometimes before, sometimes after meeting a doctor, I've been able to figure out the root cause. Like at one point, I had multiple injuries to my body. I had infections in both ears. I had wounds that were separating or getting pussy. Nothing was healing. And when I was diagnosed with an irritated stomach and colitis in my intestines, I realized what was causing it, and I corrected it. And between what the doctor did for me and what I did for myself, it healed. My immune system was no longer overtaxed by handling so many things at the same time. And when I had problems a few years later with my stomach being very irritated to the point that it woke me up at 2 a.m. with sharp pain that I'd never felt before in my life, after I talked to my doctor and had been to the ER, and I realized I was overconsuming dark chocolate. Because yes, you can overconsume dark chocolate between the caffeine content and the high. I was doing 85% at that time, and I was eating like a bar a day. Too much and too strong, and that had irritated my stomach a lot. So I have been able to figure things out. And usually, oftentimes I get some feedback from the doctor, an explanation of what I'm experiencing, and then I can look back Oh, I've got lactose intolerance. Oh, I got to cut back on my chocolate. Oh, I'm crying, and this is because I'm taking in too much sugar. Oh, I've got all these problems because my immune system is overtaxed because I was taking some medication without eating first, and it was irritating my digestive system, and so on and so forth. So I was confused. Back to the story. But I kept at it. I took notes. I looked at a lot of stuff. I watched a lot of stuff. I listened to a lot of stuff. And as I did that research, I started to notice that there were different camps, so to speak, or different factions, maybe would be a better word, within the world of diet and nutrition. Some of them were proponents of a meat-heavy diet. Others were proponents of a vegetable and plant-based diet, not necessarily vegan or vegetarian, but plant-based. And then there were people in between, and even within one side, they didn't always necessarily agree with each other, even within one faction. So you'd hear some plant-based proponents who said oils were bad, and there was like some others that were like, I'm not sure, and others that were like, oh, it's great as long as you're getting these and not those. And so I did a lot of research, and I started to realize that there were some things that were happening. One of those things was that there were certain individuals, some of them were journalists, some of them were doctors, some of them were scientists, who were very high profile, often influencers, and they were employed directly or indirectly by one or more industries that stood to profit if they told lies and made the public believe. So I started seeing this. I started seeing there were people who were quoting journals, quoting research papers, or rather they were misquoting. They were misrepresenting the facts because they know that the majority of you will never look at those papers to see if it's true or false. And this is a tactic that politicians do also. They'll state a fact, knowing that most of you will never question that person, that you'll never bother to look at the source. They'll even tell you the source sometimes, and you won't look because you trust that person. If somebody gives you the source, you should always look. If they don't give you the source, ask for it. If they refuse to give you the source, you can't trust them. If they give you the source and they have lied about what they have said, is supposedly in that, you can't trust them either, right? Obviously. Yeah. So I started to see the hand of big pharma and big supplement and big agriculture and big medicine and big surgery and all these different health insurance, life insurance, all these different industries that stand to profit from us being sick, which is why the health industry pushes doctors very hard to meet as many patients as possible, as in as short a time as possible, and prescribe number one, medicine, number two, surgery. And some of them are being discouraged from providing natural alternatives. Now, when I say natural alternatives, I'm not talking about homeopathy, which is a scam. I am not talking about herbs and supplements and stuff like that. I'm talking about time-tested, scientifically proven ways to deal with some issues with things that don't cost much money, like vinegar, for example. Vinegar is great. If you've got toenail fungus, you can use that to kill the toenail fungus. So there are all these industries, and often they're connected to each other because they share the same investors. So if an investor has major influence in multiple industries because they have lots of power in different companies within all those industries, they're going to benefit from you and I getting sick. And they don't have, many of them are only interested in money and their own, how they can benefit themselves. They don't care if you get sick. They don't care if you have organ failure. They don't care if you have sepsis or septic shock, which is a really severe infection throughout your system. They don't care if your fingers or toes or whatever go gangrenous and have to be cut off. They don't care if you have a heart attack. They don't care if you die and leave your family penniless because of medical debt. They're after money and power. And so they rig the system. Now, I know that some of you are now thinking, oh, I can't trust doctors. I can't trust journalists. I can't trust scientists. That's not actually correct. You see, the people who are doing this, the ones who are either cashing in by selling supplements, or they are being paid to falsify research, or whatever they're doing, like the whole vaccine scare that started with MMR vaccines way back in the 70s, I believe it was, with Dr. Andrew Wakefield, who, by the way, was British and is no longer a doctor. He had his license revoked many, many years ago. He had developed a measles vaccine with another guy, and the two of them, and the other guy's name was Fundenberg, I think, and the two of them conspired to produce false research to show that the MMR vaccine that was being given by the government caused autism. And this was published in a paper. And it took decades before there was enough proof for that paper to feel comfortable that they could remove it. But the damage was done. Decades in an established, respected journal caused many people to believe, even to this day, that the MMR vaccine is not safe. But he was doing it because he and Fundenberg were going to get rich selling the measles vaccine. And they did. They did sell it. But Andrew Wakefield had done such a fabulous marketing campaign of making MMR look bad and making his alternative look good that even to this day, there are people who trust him, who believe in him, who will stand outside of a courtroom if he's in trouble and chant to let him go and stuff. That's just one example. You see, the doctors and nurses and dietitians and scientists and journalists that you hear about the least are usually not the ones who are a problem. They're usually the legitimate ones who are trying to help, who are trying to make our lives better and safer, make us healthier. The ones that you hear all the time and who are constantly questioning the rest of the medical community or the rest of the scientific community or the World Health Organization or the National Institutes of Health or one of these other organizations who are always saying, oh, that new study, oh, that's garbage. And here, buy my supplement. Those are the ones that are scamming you. The ones who are kicking the corpses of once famous scientists like Ansel Keys and Walter Willett, who's still alive, and many others, the journalists who write and give speeches and say bad things about these people who have done amazing work, are the ones you should be careful of. Now, I'm not going to name any names in this video because the problem is if you have been convinced by one of those people that what they're doing is good, and I say their name, then you're not going to trust me. And my motives, I'm not offering anything for sale. I mean, it would be easy. I mean, there's very little regulation of the supplement industry. It's a huge industry that should be highly regulated by the FDA, but it is not. because it's just another kind of pharmaceuticals. And often there are bad things in the supplements. Like David Sinclair's product, NMN, which contains toxins in it, and so on. So, yeah, but that's not it. It's not just the journalists who are saying, well, I'm a great reporter and I figured all this stuff out and so is bad and this is good for you. And it's not just the medical doctors who are selling supplements for a branch of medicine that they have no expertise in. And it's not just the scientists who are saying, hey, look what I discovered. Buy my product. There is an entire network that supports these criminals, these scammers, these liars, these psychopaths. See, what they do is they provide a platform for these fraudsters to come on to YouTube and wherever else, present their ideas, their false information, their products as facts. So these shows get famous because they keep on having all these famous influencers on who are lying to you. And they get paid by the influencers so they can do what they're doing. So it's just a buddy-buddy network of all these criminals helping each other. You get me on your show, I'm going to give you this much money, maybe some other things as well, and I'm going to get more famous, I'm going to get more credibility, which means I'm going to sell more products, which means I can maybe give you a kickback or something else. So there are shows that are not run by people with any kind of a relationship with science, medicine, or even journalism. But they are a platform for the quacks, for the snake oil salesmen and women. They are a con artist's heaven because they let the public see these people. They treat them with respect. They don't ask them questions that really dig deep. They will sometimes ask questions that appear to be critical of their guest, but those are carefully scripted questions that are not going to expose anything other than that the guest is legitimate when they're not. Politicians do the same kind of tactics. I'm not all, but you know. So we have a majority of people who are criminals and are telling you, don't trust the doctors, don't trust the nurses, don't trust the dietitians, don't trust the nutritionists, don't trust the scientists, don't trust the media. They're all in bed with Big Pharma or whatever. And they're the ones who are fleecing you because they are undermining your trust in the institutions and people who actually are trying to help you so they can reach into your pocket and grab a huge wad of cash every year. And many of you don't know enough to know that that's happening to you. And it's not your fault because there's a science behind this manipulation. There are companies who are devoted to psychological warfare, psychological operations in which they use advanced psychological understanding to market in a way that will convince you to go in a certain direction. And if it's not possible to do that, they will even stage events to convince you that you must go in that direction. Yeah. And so, since revealing the names of these people to you would likely cause you to, I don't see, I don't hear, I don't know what you're, I can't say the names. I want to. Trust me, this is very hard for me because I'm an honest person and I want to help people. But I know as soon as I say their names, you will shut me out. So all I'm asking is to look very carefully at the people online, especially in the realm of science and medicine, who are constantly discrediting everybody, except for us, certain individuals, and who are either selling products or helping to sell products, bringing on one person after another person after another person. Pay attention to what they're saying. If they mention a source, look at the source. If you don't understand, surely there's somebody that you can talk to that can help you to understand what whether the source was quoted correctly or incorrectly. And be careful. Some of these are just con artists who are narcissists. Some of them are criminals with a violent background. Some of them are psychopaths. So if you find out that you were scammed, stop giving them your money. Stop buying their product because it's probably hurting you, or at the very least doing nothing for you. And then maybe you need to talk to a lawyer. Maybe you need to talk to the FBI. You can talk to me, but I'm a nobody. I'm just a guy with a tiny YouTube channel trying to help people. And it's really hard because I'm not good at communicating with people in a way that makes them turn their viewpoint around and see the truth. I'm not always right either. I make mistakes. So, but I hope this information has helped you. And unless a doctor prescribes a supplement, or you need a supplement like maybe vitamin D3 or B12, you really shouldn't be taking supplements, because some supplements can kill you if you get too much. Too much iron is as bad as too little iron, for example. Okay. If you have questions, again, I can't tell you who, but if you have questions about what I'm talking about, if something wasn't clear, please put them down below. And as always, please abide by my community rules. I've recently had to ban some people from my channel. I don't want to have to do that to anybody else, but if you're not going to follow the rules, I don't really have a choice. I want this to be a place where people feel safe and where we can have an intelligent, civil conversation. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Hi. Thank you for watching my video. And I hate doing this, but things have gotten pretty sketchy with my employer. And without going into all the details, which I have covered at other times, at least in part, I need some financial assistance. If you have the opportunity to do so, that's great. If you don't, even if you can just put in a word of support in the comments, that helps. To have even just that is good. But financially, I need to be able to carry on doing what I'm doing with these channels. Not so much this channel, not so much the Eclectician channel, which is mostly just me learning about stuff and sharing it with you, but with my Glenn's Fast Reviews channel, where most of what you see that I review, I've purchased myself, or I've gotten at a food pantry, or somebody gave to me because they know I do reviews. But I have invested huge amounts of money in it. And at this point, with a little over 1,800 viewers, I'm earning maybe $125 a month, which doesn't cover the cost of what I've done, let alone the ongoing cost. And then even worse than that is my third channel that's at my is the PC Expert Amateur, which I've invested a large sum of money that I should have been saving for my retirement, because I wanted to be able to present a lot of information about fans and air coolers and water coolers for computers and other things as well. And in order to do that, I had two choices. I either had to make deals with manufacturers and sell my soul, or stick to my ethics and pay for things myself in order to not be beholden to somebody and not feel like, oh, I owe them. So yeah, it's pretty costly, and with the situation with my employer Amazon, in which the workers' compensation company Sedgwick refuses to fix my shoulder, which was injured at work over a period of months last year because Amazon's management refused to abide by their own policies to provide me support. I may end up having to pay for the surgery myself with the help of my insurance, and that will still be very expensive. And then I would be out of work for at least a month. So switching to another job, it would be hard, because if I come to you and I say, hey, I want to work for you, and you're like really interested in me, and then I say, oh, by the way, in the near future, I'm going to be having a shoulder replacement, so I will probably be out of work for a month. You're probably going to say, I'll pass, thanks, though. Which would actually be illegal, and you won't tell me that's why you're not choosing me. But, it is a problem, especially with me being as old as I am. I'm almost 58. So if you could please, if you can either go to the my YouTube channel, Glenn's Fast Reviews, and you can make any kind of a donation on there, any size, any time you want, through that, because that's my monetized channel. Or you can go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Glenn M-I-I. That's GLENNMII. And you can make a recurring donation. The smallest one I have on there right now is $10. If that's too big for you to give on a monthly basis, let me know. I can always add a smaller one than that. I just need to know. But again, if you are financially strapped, please don't send me money. I don't want somebody else getting into trouble financially just to help me. That would weigh very heavily on my conscience. So thanks again for watching this video, and let's make the world a better place.